and welcome all of you to our YouTube channel Animals and Pets with Partha. Today I take you to the world of purebred dogs and the history of purebred dogs in this country. As we all know that we were under the British rule for a few hundred years, and during the British rule the dog world or the dog game started in this country. Way back in the year 1896, possibly, the Kennel Club of India was formed by the Britishers. And later on, the Calcutta Kennel Club was formed in the year 1900 or 1906, I'm not very sure. The British ran this club, and Calcutta is where they had their capital for quite a while, and the East India Company, that's how they set up their empire in this country. They had a kennel club tent on the Maidan, which is considered to be one of the jewels in the crown of the British Raj at that time. A huge open space called the Maidan, the Brigade Parade Ground. And on the Maidan, we have this kennel club which even stands tall today. But there is not enough activity except for holding a dog show annually. There is no such activity which is promoted by the kennel club here, unfortunately. Well, the British spread the kennel clubs around the country to wherever they had settlements, which is the major cities. Like they had the kennel club in Bombay, they had the kennel club in Mysore, Bangalore. They had a club in Ooty. I presume they had a club in Missouri. So it's around these cities that they formed the kennel clubs, and it was solely run by the British all along. Though there were some aristocratic Bengali families and the Rajas and the Maharajas and the Nawabs that happened to be at the time and were dog lovers. They belonged to the club also, and they were ones who also participated with the British, by the British run clubs. Then in 1947, of course, we got our independence, and slowly the British started leaving this country. A lot of British people who had settled down here for good had to wind up and think of going back to their homeland. The Kennel Club of India was at the time run by Major O. Goldsmith. As far as I know, he was a judge in the panel of the Kennel Club of India, and he judged around the world wherever he went as a judge belonging to the panel of Indian judges. We had how I come to know this is in 1991, when I went to judge in Hong Kong, which was still then under the British rule, completely under the British rule. I judged their show, and I've got their catalogue, the Hong Kong Kennel Club, which is situated in Stanley Street in Hong Kong. They gave me a catalogue where I got the name that Major O. Goldsmith of India judged their show in Hong Kong in 1951, which means 40 years later there was another Indian who judged the show, that was myself. So it is beyond that he continued for some time, and then obviously he possibly passed away, which I do not have records of. But the Kennel Club then had went through a lot of disturbances, and I think the canine activity got disrupted for some time. It was taken over even for a short while by the Nawab Nazir, Jang of Hyderabad, late Nawab Nazir. But finally it went back to the wife of Major Goldsmith, Mrs. Goldsmith. Mrs. Goldsmith took up the mantle to run the Kennel Club, which was run by her husband, and she was also a judge. She was also established judge and a very senior person. She lived for quite a long time, for many years after Major Goldsmith had died, and she stayed in Kunur. So the Kennel Club was given to her to be run, and she did it very well, very efficiently, and there were and the main clubs that existed at that time had their annual shows. It was an annual event for most of the clubs. During the winter months, of course, all over the country there were shows, and in the summertime you had shows in Uttarakhand during May, which even today it happens at that time. Later on, when I became a member and we had gone to Kunur, Mrs. Goldsmith was, I have seen her when I was exhibiting. She's even judged my dogs. She used to travel in spite of her very old age. She did manage to travel and go around dog shows. That was the kind of interest that she had for the dog world. Finally, what happened was when she died, the club was run by Mr. Thomas Matthews, late Mr. Thomas Matthews. He was helping Mrs. Goldsmith at a later stage of life for a long time, so he knew, and he maintained all the procedures and the systems that he was quite update with all the rules, and he was also a very fine judge and a very knowledgeable person. So he ran it very efficiently till such time that some people decided to bring the club over from Kunur to a major city, Chennai. I must make a mention that great towering personality of that era in the dog world was His Highness Maharaja Jaidip Singh of Baria, Devgat Baria. He was a great sport. In fact, he was a member of the parliament, and he was a minister and Amateur Athletics Association minister at that time under the government of India, and he was very close to the then late Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. He promoted the dog world and wanted to make it really national. He was chairman for some time, and as long as he was chairman, he promoted the dog game, and in fact he said that the annual general meeting of the Kennel Club of India would be circulated between the 4 major cities like Calcutta, Delhi, Chennai and Bombay. But then the South Indian lobby got stronger, and they removed Maharaja Jaidip Singh of Baria from his chairmanship, and he became the vice chairman. During the time Maharaja Baria was the chairman, I can remember my mentor, Mr. R.P. Mitter, who was a judge in the British era. He was also the vice chairman of the Kennel Club of India for a while. But then, of course, the power shifted, and the Kennel Club of India came to rest in Chennai. Since then, it was never circulated. The AGMs were not held anywhere except Chennai. So that was the situation, and that is the history of the Kennel Club. And as of now, there are many other clubs that have developed over the years, even further. But what has happened over the years is the club at that time, which was accessible to everybody, the fees and other things, and it was actually formed to devote their efforts to promote the dog game in this country, purebred dog game in this country, deviated from its original motto, and it became a very small club, only catering to a very few people, which the fees of the Kennel Club, which was from few hundred rupees when I became a member in 81, it's now nearly 50,000 rupees, which of course most people wouldn't want to become a member, and for what reason? And then the Kennel Club, if you have to start a club, instead of being, since the clubs promote the game, they have made an entry money of maybe £1 lakh or more. I'm not very sure about the amount, but it's quite a big amount. So there are lots of clubs that could have come because the dog game from that period, in that period when it was totally amateur, and the judges were all honorary, the helpers, the stewards, everyone that actually, the people who tabulated, wrote catalogs, who worked on the table, everything was done on an honorary basis. But today it's all become totally professional, and it is judging fees is possibly the highest in the world. You are paid 20,000 rupees to judge a day's dog show, maybe 50, 60, 80 dogs, and then all the travel and everything that is for the Indian judges. So that's also a lot of expense. Then 3-star and 5-star hotels. So all this has changed, the entire scenario has changed. In fact, even for this small specialty shows where you have 15, 20 dogs, or 10, 12 dogs, you are paid for, judges paid 15,000 rupees, which is a lot of money in terms of, and dog shows, of course, of people who run these big dog shows, they spend a lot of money for the decor, for the the hospitality of judges, and the after show dinners, all the rest. So what actually has transpired from in those days, it was not very taxing on clubs to run the show, but in today's scenario, it is a very taxing exercise for organizing a show. So where does all this money come from? It doesn't come from, though the entry fees are quite high, but it only makes up a very small percentage of the expenditure that actually goes to organize a show. Now, the clubs generate these funds through donations, and a lot of these donations come as unrecorded, unreceipted donations, and they are usually the funny part is most of the people who are competing in the show and who have the best dogs and they want their dogs to win, they are the main sponsors in majority of the shows here. Most of the shows are actually bought out before, and they pay in the money to run this huge expenditure, and obviously there is the judges have to comply to it, or they have to invite those judges that will oblige by putting up dogs that will actually the people who are putting in the money for the dog show. So what happens is these Kennel Club shows have a stark difference with the shows that we had in those years. In those times, I was a judge, became a judge in '85, and for many years we had to judge dog shows just on honorary basis. Even your total travel expenses, there were restrictions. Most of the clubs couldn't afford to pay a high quality of travel like air travel and things like that. And many places did not have airports in that time. So there were not many judges who were really inclined to take up appointments in areas where they didn't have direct flights, because a lot of the judges came from backgrounds where they were used to a lot of luxuries which the new upcoming clubs could not afford. But nevertheless, I had a very enjoyable experience for a long time, and in those places where the satisfaction that when I look back on those days is a lot of these places where I had frequented in the initial years when they were not, when dog shows were not known to those places, and the organizers never knew how to look after the judges, or how to tabulate their catalogs, and they were not trained to run dog shows. Now have kennel clubs, and they're doing very well. So there are just quite a few to start naming them. I can just tell you that I've been to Amritsar, I've been to Jalandhar, and I've been to places like Kanpur, and then Silchar and Burnpur. A lot of places where in the initial years I was there, and that leaves behind a lot of satisfaction in me for having been able to do a little bit of service to the game, that has given me so much of friends around the country, and of course when I became an international judge, and most of these moments they were all mostly all honorary appointments. You only would get paid for your travel and things like that, but otherwise it was honorary. But I have enjoyed every moment of my association in the dog world, and I look forward to a very enjoyable many years that are to come for me, and that I will be belonging to this game for many more years. I will look ahead with a lot of optimism, and I'm sure our dog guild will improve in years ahead. So kindly do subscribe to this channel to keep listening to stories about the animals and the pet world and the dog world, of course, which I would be speaking mostly on. I would also be bringing a lot of personalities whom I'll be interviewing. They will belong to the world of horses, maybe the world of birds, and many animals, which and aquarium fishes. So it will be a whole variety of videos that will be uploaded from time to time. So kindly also ring the bell button, then you get updated on all the videos that I will be posting in my channel Animals and Pets with Partha. Kindly like my, it will be a lot of encouragement if you like my, click the like button, and also share it with friends in the animal and pets world. So bye for now, till my next video. Keep watching. Bye bye.